Hello and welcome to the joestar podcast episode 22. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon. Rick and Morty's back, so Rick and Morty episode 7 and the JoJo Stone Ocean trailer that came out. Okay, I got spoiler warning for Pokemon Scarlet. If you have not played it, this is not the right one for you because we're about to discuss things throughout the game. Okay, so so the gameplay so far is good, and I do feel like there are some things um, I do feel are either a little off or something like that. Um, I loved most of the new Pokemon. My favorite one at the moment is Tinkaton, the Fairy Steel type, and that is gonna be on my team for most of my playthroughs. Um, I want my main save to be on Scarlet, which I'm getting at Christmas. So um, I'm going to choose Quaxley for that. But for Sprigatito, I feel like it's done quite well. I do feel like all of them are amazing. Sprigatito would be third. Quaxley's final evolution would be second, but Skeleturge would be at the top. It's the best design out of all of them, to be honest, but I am a fan of the other two. And I feel the storyline works out well. There are some graphics that are a bit off because there was something I saw that was a gold duck walking on top of a human, a character, and that was a little awkward. But I do feel like they might have been rushed to make these games, so it's a little so-so. Um, um, but overall, for the Pokemon game, it wasn't actually that bad. The designs for the starters were really cool. Like I said, Skeleturge is one of the best ones, and then Quavo, or something. I don't know. Sorry, I don't pay attention to the names of them because, like, they're not as the names aren't as good as they should be. Meowscavada kind of reminds me of Muscovado sugar. But the names are pretty cool. The designs look great. Even though it is based in Spain, I do feel like them being the dancing and other, I can't remember, but Pokemon, it fits well for the theme. It just doesn't fit well for the design, I'd say. Arvin's story was really sad. Like he had a pet dog, and it wouldn't be quite the same. Like, by the way, I've got up to facing the Clive. I've got up to facing Clive. I did try and face the Elite Four, but I was too weak. But during that time, I was also at the bottom. I was at the final Team Star base. Speaking of which, Team Star was a bit off, and they didn't really work out well as the villains. And the character Katsasopia or whatever they're called seems a little off. I have been avoiding as many spoilers as possible, but it is a good game if you would want to play it. Victory Road storyline was cool, and I liked the gym leader's ace being different to the type that their gym specialty is. So there was a guy called Larry, and he had a Staraptor, and it was a normal flying type, but his gym was normal, but he terrorized it into a normal type. And Gracia, she had an Altaria, which was 4 times weak to ice because of flying and dragon, but terrorized it into an ice type, which was quite cool. And finally, I loved the different things you could do with the legendary. Like you could ride it, you could fly it, it could ride on water, and that actually linked quite well to the Titan story, which was quite amazing. And I loved that. Okay, next up, we're going to be talking about Rick and Morty. So, spoilers for if you haven't seen that, of course you would have, but just in case, yeah. Loved the intro. It was funny. It was like this previously on, and so they went through a time thing, and there was this pre Leon, or it was like a little bug called previous Leon, or something like that. And it was funny. They were attacking him, and then they were doing the intro, and they went through how they went through the title screen was funny as well. Like they had the whole Rick and Morty thing play whilst they were in the background flying around and stuff, and I found that a bit hilarious. Like the goggles, they had certain ones that went on and they could break through the fourth wall, which was pretty cool. Yeah, and they made a reference to how they were in Space Jam and made a cameo in there. Jesus' appearance was really cool, and Jesus's previously on segment was funny. And there was a hooker called Mary in his previously on segment, and I found that fun. That whole previously on segment was really hilarious. Yeah, hookers in the past was crazy because yeah, pretty odd, I'd say. Loved the creator scene, who was the creator of the toy train and stuff like that. And it was pretty funny, and I did feel like it was a bit odd and stuff. But overall, it was cool. Loved the wordplay characters' names. So you had like previous Leon, and then you had I can't remember what it's like. It was play on words, but they made it into a name. I can't remember any of them, but I knew they were funny because you'd have the name, and then if you just said it normally, it would be the word they were talking about. So that was pretty cool. Main character. I don't know. Okay, sorry, I was trying to think, and there might have been something. It was like, yeah. But overall, that thing was pretty cool. I like the names, and they're pretty cool. I wouldn't name my children them. It's just the fact that they were playing words. Marvin becoming an MC was cool. Marvin, by the way, was just a useless security guard, and then he became a main character, and his life was pretty cool. Reaction to Cool and Powerful. Retcon was Cool and Powerful. That was pretty cool, I thought. Um, his name was Retcon or something like that, and it was like a space in between. Them going on an adventure was cool, and they went into like an ice. It ended up like snowing, and so everyone got cold and all that. Um, then I love how they said it was a Back to the Future ripoff, which technically it is, because if you think about it, it's basically Back to the Future, but with drunks and swearing, because it was because Rick is a ripoff of Doc might no. Um, Doc Brown, and Morty is a Marty ripoff, and it ended. But it's more the fact that he's a grandfather to him rather than like a scientist he met in a lab he tried to break into. Um, yeah, loved the beards. They grew out beards, and it was very cool. Um, and then they moved into their normal life. People people getting unmotivated was silly because they were like going onto a certain website I can probably not say because otherwise I'll get demonetized. But overall, it was basically the villain of that episode had come back from a previous one. I can't remember his name, but what had happened was he was taking motivation from people and giving himself a motivation so that he could become powerful. And yeah, he fought with Rick, and um uh yeah, and Morty gave a speech which I thought was cool, and it was pretty nice. The motivation thing ending after they had battled was cool, and Rick made a fake plush, and he made him he made one of the characters die by being suffocated by it. But overall, it was pretty. It was a pretty funny. Um, it was a pretty funny episode. Uh, we've got we've got 3 more episodes coming up. So next week, the week after that, and then the week after that, and then it'll be done. And then we'll have to talk about some more stuff. So um, I don't know if the Guardians Holiday Special is meant to come out tomorrow or um, today, but I wasn't able to do anything. So maybe by next Thursday, which will be the first, I believe, I'm going to watch it and talk to you guys about it. And also, JoJo's Stone Ocean, which also comes out next Thursday. I am so hyped for it. Like, I'm going to have to watch it, make notes, list out the different episodes. But luckily, this is going to be the best batch ever, I am saying. This is the batch I am most excited for. The last two, I was like, yeah, and there were some bits that made me smile and stuff, like Jotaro coming back, Jotaro being in a coma, weather report. But this batch here, I'm so excited for, and we luckily got a trailer for it. So I'm not going to react to it, don't worry, but I've already reacted and taken notes. But first off, I got to say the trailer looks amazing. It is crazy. It's got Sea Moon, it's got weather, it's got Jotaro back. Spoilers for JoJo Part 6. Go, go, go. Made in Heaven actually happens right at the end, and boy, does it look insane. Okay, let's go through this. Okay, so we get our first look at the Sons of Dio. They all look good, but I am a little worried about Donatello's hair looking weird, because if you've seen it in the manga, it's a straight line that goes down, but in the trailer, it was more of a fluffy area. So I'm not sure how they're gonna uh, change it, but I am a little worried it's going to steer off from the manga, but the other Sons of Dio actually look amazing. Ugaru looks as ugly as ever, and oh my god, I can't remember his name. The middle one, we'll say. He looks actually better in the anime, I'd say. And speaking of Dio's son, I just hope we just get a glimpse of Giorno. We don't have to have much, even if because in the manga it just had a sign that said Giorno was in blah blah blah, but I would prefer not that sign, just to get a glimpse of him, maybe in like a shadow. He's walking out towards a street or something, and we just cut there. He just 2 seconds of Giorno would just make anyone happy. But I doubt they're going to do that. I know in other anime series they have had to add additions on to be able to actually make it happen. So I am hoping they do that. We get our first look at Sea Moon, and it looks wicked. It looks better. It looks great. And gee, in that scene, Jolene is upside down. So I don't know if that means that he's done gravity or something, and so she's upside down. Yeah. And I'm so happy that Jotaro is back. Yes. And I am also, the guidebook is now Little Red Riding Hood, which is odd, because in the manga it was meant to be a Disney guidebook, but because Disney has no rights to JoJo and they can't do that, and so what they were meant to do is like have Pinocchio show up or and Mickey and stuff like that, but we don't really know what's going to happen with that. And also, Weather has the birthmark on his back. I don't know if that's because Dio has got it from mixing with the baby, and so because Weather is also part of the bloodline, that's how he got it. But that's a completely different video. And that's it. I do hope you enjoyed this podcast. Next week we're gonna do my first day of Joseph's Advent calendar, as it is December 1st. Rick and Morty episode 8, and the Guardians Christmas special. I am really excited to talk about that. And maybe, if you're lucky, I might talk to you about the end game of Scarlet and Violet. So, well, mostly Violet, because I brought that on day release. But I hope you really enjoyed this stream. Thank you so much for listening and hope you do well. Bye.